Hello, a Rosie math teacher coming at you from my 4th period accelerated 7th grade math class, where today on lesson 10-8, distance on the coordinate plane is the topic on textbook page 217. We are going to learn how to use ordered pairs to show us how a diagonal line might appear on a grid and how to plot our side A, side B, and then use a squared plus b squared equaling c squared, square root that, to give us the value of the hypotenuse side on a grid. Also have a tip for you of how to solve it without a grid. Are you ready? We're ready. Here we go. Item number 1, we are finding the distance C, otherwise known as the what? What's the diagonal side of a right triangle called? Hypotenuse. Between each pair of points on the coordinate plane, round to the nearest what if necessary? 10. Guys, this is where I'm having some kids get tripped up today. They solve everything correctly, and then they forget how to round to the nearest 10. Okay, please remember, if I have $1 bill, 2 dimes, 3 pennies, which digit is in the tens place class? 2. How would I round 1.23 to the nearest 10? 1.2. Are you all understanding how to round to the nearest 10? Okay, very good. All right, for item number 1, let's begin. Let's plot first at -4, -3. Class, I will go across to which direction, left or right? Left. How many steps? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Place your dot 4 steps to the left, and then how many steps down?
3.
1, 2, 3. Is your plotted point looking just like my green plotted point on the screen?
Yes.
Okay? Then we're making a second plotted point at what ordered pair location? 2, 1. So to the right, how many spaces?
2.
And then up or down?
Up.
Up, how many?
1.
Excellent. Do you have your 2 plotted points here? Do you agree those 2 plotted points form a diagonal line?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead and draw your diagonal line. Because it is a diagonal line, we have now drawn the hypotenuse for which we will find the length. How, you ask? Glad you asked. Please draw a line going straight down from your higher plotted point. Please connect now from your lower plotted point. Oh, what did you just draw? A right triangle. Please label the shortest side as A. Please label the second longer side as B. Please label your third and final side as C. Now, when I count how many units I have for A, how many do you count, class?
4.
I was expecting more people than that. Class, how many for leg A? 4. Please write 4 squared. Because y'all remember, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Then we'll square root the C squared, and we'll have the measure of the hypotenuse. All right, so let's go ahead and work with leg B. I'll give you a moment to count that quietly. Everybody quietly count leg B. On the count of 3, tell me now. 1, 2, 3.
6.
If you said 6, you are correct. So we will have 4 squared plus 6 squared. You may open your online calculator to just type this in. Type in 4 squared plus 6 squared. Raise your hand when you have an amount you would like to share from your online calculator. Yes, ma'am.
7.2.
Excuse me. Who agrees with 7.2? And does it end there? Okay, so we're not ready to round quite yet. How long is your number? Is it really long? Okay, does everybody get a really long number on that first part? I was thinking we did not get a really long number on that first part. Go ahead, what is yours?
52.
Okay, who agrees with 52 being the total of 4 squared plus 6 squared? That is what I was wanting for your first number. Does everybody understand how to get 52? And do you understand how to get that?
I put the wrong symbol in.
Okay, so do we all understand how to use the squared or the level 2 exponent? Okay, and we can work on that again later if we need to. All right, so once you know that 4 squared plus 6 squared equals 52, what do I need to do to 52 to find the actual value of C? Square root it. By now, clearing out your calculator, tapping this square root symbol first, typing the number 52 inside of it. Now, tell me please, sir, what amount do you get? Tell me the unit amount, decimal point, and 2 more digits so we can make sure we round correctly.
7.21.
Do we all agree that he is reading the correct first 3 digits? All right, now, on the count of 3, what would it be rounded to the nearest tenth? 1, 2, 3.
7.2.
If you correctly said 7.2, please wave at me. Beautifully done. All right, do we understand how you got the unit length of 7.2 units along the line marked as C? Do I have any questions on how we got that? All right, let's go to the second one, and I'm going to teach you my favorite method. So right now, everybody close devices just for a moment, so we're not working ahead and we're listening. Everybody close devices for a moment. All right, please rewrite the values they have given you. Please recopy nice and big so it's easy for you to work with. 0, 2. And then in your second set of parentheses, the 5, -2. Now class, underline the x values of both ordered pairs. Underline the 0, underline the 5. Now very quickly, please draw a quick number line, a 0 here, and then place, remember we're only placing the digits here, the x value 0, the x value 5. You don't need to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can just mark any distance and call that 5. Here's my question to you. How many steps would you travel if you went from 0 to 5? Say it, class. So your first amount to write down is 5 squared. This is a method that will give you the number of units long for either leg A or leg B. And then the other will give you the units long for the other. Do you follow? It's a pattern you can use for this entire lesson. All right, so I'm finished using the 0 and the 5. Now what numbers shall I underline, class? The 2 and the -2. These are my 2 y values. Now draw a very quick number line. You've got to do this on a number line or your brain will confuse you and you'll say, oh, that's easy. 2 minus 2 equals 0. It's 0. It is not 0. Okay, so draw a quick number line. Here's my 0, but I'm not plotting that this time. I am plotting 2. Class, make a little mark where you're going to say that's worth 2. Make a little mark, approximately the same distance from your 0, but other side. Label that what? -2. Now here's my question to you. Between these 2 points, how many steps would you travel if you were a miniature person walking on this number line? First tell me from -2 to 0, how many steps? 2. From 0 to 2, how many steps? 2. Put them together, it would be 4. So I will now write plus what? Plus 4 squared. In a moment, you're not solving it yet. In a moment, when you do solve this, will your online calculator give you a number total for 5 squared plus 4 squared? Yes. And then you will what it? Square root it. Now later on in one of your items, they ask you to tell what someone forgot to find. And not saying this is the answer, but if you forgot to square root it, or you forgot to find the square root, they are picky about it being spelled correctly. So if you need this for an answer anywhere online tonight, please remember this is how you spell square, S-Q-U-A-R-E, leave 1 single space, R-O-O-T. So if you're not so great at spelling, can you go ahead and copy that down so you'll remember when it's time to say square root as a part of your answer, this is the correct spelling. But you probably all already knew that. All right, if we were to go ahead and talk about item number 5, let's take a look at that. An archaeologist at a dig sets up a coordinate system using string. 2 similar artifacts are found, one at position 1, 4, class, write those down below, and the other at 5, 2. Please write that below. Then they ask, how far apart were the 2 artifacts? And of course, the usual, round to the nearest tenth of a unit if necessary. So first things first, if I were looking at this to decide what it is by the numbers only, no need for a grid, y'all. Underline your first values in each ordered pair, the x values. What did you just underline? the 1 and the 5. Now draw a number line, just real quick. Draw yourself a 0 to give you some perspective. Draw yourself where the 1 might be. Draw yourself where the 5 might be. How many steps would it take me to get from a 1 to a 5? 4. Please write down 4 what? Squared. Are you agreeing with me? This is a very quick and easy way to find your numbers? Yes. What do you think I'm going to underline next?
4 and 2.
4 and 2, my y values. Great job. And because my brain tends to pick up numbers I don't need when I'm already done with them, I scribble them out so they don't cause me any confusion later. Now I'm drawing a number line real quick with a 4 and a 2. Here's my 0, here's my 4, here's my 2. How many steps between the 4 and the 2? 2. So 4 squared plus what? 2 squared. In a moment, when I turn you loose, you will enter this on your calculator screen. It will give you a what? A number. You will then clear the calculator, type that number back in, and what it? Square root it. If you need to round, you'll round to the nearest what? 10th. So far, are you feeling like, OMG, I'm going to be so successful? You are, but I do need to give you a heads up on a certain item on the next page. Let's take a look at number 7. Oh, look, it's Rosa. Rosa is similar to Mrs. Rose, yes? Yes. Rosa is looking at a map of the park that is laid out on a coordinate plane. Where is Rosa standing? 1, -1. Class, please write an R to represent Rosa and write her ordered pair. Say it again. 1, -1. If you're struggling to find the page, at least write this in some white space in your life. Rosa was at 1, -1. And the shelter house is at what? Okay, please write those coordinates. SH shelter house at -2, -4. And the fossil exhibit, I'm going to call that FE, is at what? 3, 2. Now let's read carefully the rest of this. It's going to be a multi-step process, so you've got to stay patient. Each unit on the map represents 100 feet. So class, I'm going to help you understand when to include that. If 1 unit is worth 100 feet, then when we know how many units, we will multiply that by 100. All right, are you with me on that thought? But let's not worry about that yet. Let's worry about the units first. And then there's this additional wrinkle of their final question. How much closer is Rosa to the fossil exhibit than to the shelter house? If you are deciding how much closer a distance is than a longer distance, what would you do with the number of the longer distance and the number of the shorter distance? Exactly. So in our final efforts, what will we be doing? Subtracting. All right, let's start with the numbers first. If they say, how much closer is she to the fossil exhibit than to the shelter house, what ordered pair gets used twice? Rosa's ordered pair. So guys, let's go ahead and start by rewriting Rosa's numbers, 1, -1, as compared to the, let's just take the one I've listed next, as compared to the what? Shelter house. So rewrite those, -2, -4. Begin by underlining the what values, X or Y? X, please underline the 2 X values for the 2 locations we are discussing. Okay, I see some people studying it, squinting at it. Are you all able to see this? Okay, and does everyone understand why I started with this ordered pair? It's where who is located? Rosa. And why did I pick -2, -4 next? What's located there? The shelter house. Do you see how we want to first find the distance from Rosa's location to the location of the shelter house? And then next we'll find out distance from Rosa's location to the location of the fossil exhibit, and then we'll be subtracting, yes? Okay, so let's follow. If both x values are a 1 and a negative 2, number line. Here's 1, here's negative 2. Now, again, don't enter these in a calculator. You are finding how many steps a teeny tiny person would travel if they were walking on your number line. How many steps, guys, is it from 1 to 0? 1. And how many more steps to get to negative 2? 2 steps. So how many steps in all? 3 steps. Does everyone see how that is 3 steps? So what is the first coordinate you will write? Not coordinate, but value. 3 squared plus. Are we finished for now with those 2 x values? Yes. What values are you underlining now? Your y values, negative 1 and what? Negative 4. Okay? On a number line. If I drew those 2 values on a number line, here's 0, here's negative 1, and further down the line, here's negative 4. How many steps would it take me to get from negative 1 to negative 4? Please say it. 3. So what are we writing next? Plus 3 squared. Are you understanding how we got 3 squared plus 3 squared? And this was all just from Rose's location to the shelter house. So in a moment, when I turn you loose, you will get to do 3 squared plus 3 squared equaling a certain amount. And whatever that number is, what will you do to it? You will square root it. Now I'll tell you something in advance. The number you get here is going to be a 2-digit number. It's not a decimal, it's not a messy number. But when you put that 2-digit number inside the square root symbol and you get what it says on your calculator, it's going to be a long decimal that you don't want to have to memorize, copy, or anything. So here's what you're going to do when you go back to solve it. You're going to put in parentheses this value, whatever it was that you got, and then don't forget, there was that tiny little step of, we've got to convert the units to the actual distance. What do I need to multiply this by?
100.
So let me teach you a trick about your online calculator. Maybe you already knew this. In order to avoid having to write down what the square root is of this number, I literally type it into my calculator just by tapping the square root symbol, keeping that 2-digit number inside of the square root symbol, and then clicking so my cursor is right here and saying times 100, put all of that in parentheses. Are you following? And then give yourself a minus sign on your calculator. Are you with me? And then you're going to do the same process with the other location. Remember, you also have to use her numbers 1, negative 1 to the fossil exhibit 3, 2. I don't feel like I need to take you through those steps. We just did them, didn't we? Now you're going to apply those same steps to get the distance to the fossil exhibit. That is also going to give you a number that you are smarter off to leave inside of its square root symbol times 100 ending parentheses. And literally, when you type exactly what you see here, but of course with your numbers inside the square root symbols, does your calculator give you the final answer at that point? Yes, because you're making the subtracting happen right here. You're saving yourself the hassle of typing down this very long square root by just representing it as a square root of that 2-digit number. Are you following for that? Okay, I do want to show you at least one more, maybe 2 more little reminders, and then I will set you free. And yes, I definitely want to talk about item number 9. Find the area of square ABCD shown below. Oh, please make my dreams come true. Guys, let go of triangles for a moment and ask yourself the formula for area of a square. I'll give you a hint. It's a variable, a specific letter for a square, because all of the sides are the same. I'm not giving you any hints here, am I? On the count of 3, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and you guys are going to say A equals You get what I'm saying. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. A
equals S squared.
Oh my gosh! This class made my dreams come true. I had the highest number of students remembering that the area formula for a square is S squared. And why is it we say S squared instead of base times height? Because one side is what? Every single side is congruent. Therefore, we only need the measurement of a side one time and we just square it. Oh, excellent work. All right, guys, go ahead and trace line segment BC. Now create a right triangle where line segment BC is your hypotenuse. So for example, I just go across to the right and down from the B to meet up right there. Do you see how I make that right triangle on my grid? And I hope you do as well. Please draw this on your grid if you have not already done so. So in a moment, won't you be able to find the value of A, and you'll do A squared. Find the value of B, and you'll add B squared. And then when you find the value of C squared, what can you do to that to find the value of the hypotenuse C? Square root it. And once you square root it, will you truly get the measurement of every single side of the square?
Yes.
Can you then go back and square that to find the area of the square? All right, at this time, I set you free. I hope this helps. Anybody who had to miss class today, let me know.